Happy Friday, and welcome to another episode of Brain Scratch. I'm John Lorden. Thank you so much for joining me here today as we look to try to help another family by raising exposure to the case of a lost loved one. Today we're talking about Eric Nelams, and if we look through the articles, we'll get a certain amount of detail, but quite honestly, there's a lot more to this story, and we're going to need help getting into all that. So Eric's sister will be joining us a little bit later, but let's go ahead and start with the basics that we can find from the news articles. Here we have a picture of Eric, as well as this photo, a bit younger Eric when he was in the Army. Today's case is taking us to Phenix City, Alabama. Let's learn a little bit about that from Wikipedia. Phenix City is a city in Lee and Russell counties in the U.S. state of Alabama and the county seat of Russell County. As of the 2020 census, the population of the city was over 38,000 people. Phenix City lies immediately west across the Chattahoochee River from Columbus, Georgia, and observes Eastern Time on a de facto basis, in contrast to the rest of Alabama, which observes Central Time, due to Phenix City's strong economic ties to Columbus. Most of the Phenix City is included in the Columbus Metropolitan Statistical Area. As a matter of fact, from what I understand, Eric was raised in Columbus, Georgia, and then wound up living in Phenix City, got married, got a home, got a job, seemed like his life was pretty well on track when this tragedy hit. In 2007, Business Week named Phenix City the nation's #1 best affordable suburb to raise a family. So it looks like he was making some good choices in terms of how he was lining up his life. Continuing over at the Montgomery Advisor, let's learn about the details of his murder. Eric Bernard Nelams, 32 years old, was a newly wedded husband. He loved hip-hop music. He was a veteran, and on September 26, 2003, he was shot in front of the Phenix City home he had just bought that year. 2 decades later, his killing remains unsolved. He worked a 9-to-5. He was a family man, said his sister, Kathy Nelams. Kathy said that she would like to see law enforcement assign a detective to the case again. Some of the original investigators had retired. Now, keep in mind, this is an article from 2023 at the 20-year anniversary. We've got a couple years on from that situation. I'm hoping at this point that maybe we're going to hear from her that there has been some movement in terms of the investigation. I believe there's an investigator currently on it. I'm seeing some details at a couple of websites. They're naming someone, but we'll find out for sure from Kathy when we bring her on. But what about the details? What exactly happened on September 26th? Continuing at WTVM.com, Eric Nelams was shot and killed in his front yard. He was headed to work in Columbus. Basically, somewhere from the door of his home to him getting in his Ram 1500, he was attacked, he was shot, and he was killed. His mother detailed that someone must have timed when he would leave home. Certainly seems like it. I mean, just think for a moment about how quick that time frame is. You're heading out for work for the day. Most of us, maybe we're carrying a bunch of stuff. Maybe we have a cup of coffee. We're getting to that car, we're getting in, and we're going. Like, it's a matter, I don't even know if for certain homes, it's probably not even a full minute to get from the front door to your car. So certainly sounds like a situation where someone was laying in wait or someone knew his pattern extremely well to be able to pull that off. Now, he did work in Columbus, Georgia. He was working at a Kodak facility there. It was at the time called Kodak Polychrome. And essentially, they do all kinds of different plate making for graphic design. From what I understand, I believe he was working in technology there. We'll find out a little more from his sister when she comes on. On September 26, 2003, around 5:30 a.m., the Phenix City Police Department responded to the 2300 block of Level Court in Phenix City about a subject being shot. They say upon arrival, Nelams was located outside of his residence in the carport. Nelams sustained a fatal gunshot wound and was pronounced dead on the scene. And here we have the neighborhood where this takes place. And effectively, level court is just a little offshoot from Builder Drive and rolls right into a cul-de-sac. We've got all these homes facing each other. Of course, it's 5:30 in the morning. Apparently, that would still be dark in this part of the country at that time. But there's something else that's grabbing my interest about this, and that is this little path that you could take effectively. And I don't know if this is actually his house. It's just in the 2300 block, so I'm not sure which home is his. But regardless of that, it looks like these are not closed off backyards. These are not fenced backyards. And if you wanted to park down here on 23rd Avenue and kind of walk through this brush to get over to those homes, that looks like a possibility. And the only reason why I'm getting really caught up on that is because this, look how closed off all this is. Cul-de-sac, no through roads. And basically, whoever did this shooting would be making a whole bunch of noise and then driving down a road with literally every neighbor's house having the opportunity to spot them as they go driving by. So I'm curious because, at least based on the information I'm finding at this point, we don't seem to have a vehicle description of the shooter. There's even some conjecture about, is it one shooter or is it more than one? And that's just making me think of this possibility that, I mean, honestly, if I was going to put 2 minutes worth of planning into this and I was able to look at a Skyview map like this, or if I knew the area well enough, my feeling would be to get across down to 23rd Avenue, because from there you cut down one street, similar situation, but you'd have the sound probably masked by a lot of these trees. The odds that these neighbors are hearing it and responding and coming out, not quite as high as these neighbors that are really like literally within earshot of this. But from down here, all of a sudden it just opens wide up to, you can go right, you can go left, you can go north, you can go south. Just all kinds of different possibilities and a much harder trail to basically pick up and trace there. So I'll be curious to hear from his sister if they have any information, any eyewitness accounts that could be helpful in terms of understanding who might have done this or how many people might have done this, and then a vehicle description possibly. But we've got a whole bunch of other information. You can see there's not a ton of detail in these news articles. We need to learn who Eric is. We need to understand his life a bit better to see why would someone kill him? Why would someone take his life in this way? And there seems to be some level of planning going on with it. What is the reason for that? With all that being said, let's go ahead and bring his sister, Kathy, onto the show. Kathy, thank you so much for joining us here today. We really appreciate your time and you being so willing to open up and talk about all this.
Now, I also want to thank you for taking time out of your day to help me and my family raise awareness for Eric's case.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Can you tell us about your brother? I mean, the news stories don't really give us a very good view of who he is as a
Mhm.
person. What kind of things is he into? Can you share some of that with us?
Sure. So, Eric is he's the youngest out of two of my mom's children. He has always had such an awesome and charismatic personality. Even when he was a child, people just loved him and gravitated towards him. Like the elderly people would just love to see him because he was just so kind and he would always have a smile on his face. And he lived his whole life like that. If there's someone that entered a room and they were sad, he would do whatever he could to try to make them smile or try to relieve whatever stress they had going on. So that's truly who he was. He was a giving person, very cheerful. He was like life of the party, but not in a wild and crazy way, but in a fun, engaging type way. Um, and when we were in high school, I was the oldest, but he was always more popular than me because he hung out with the athletes and things like in a sport team. So I didn't mind that reference though. But yeah, he was an
Yeah,
awesome person.
I read that I guess he kind of surprised, especially some of the baseball team, right? You want to tell us about that a little bit?
Absolutely. Yeah, so my brother used to play in the yard with his friends and they would be playing softball or whatever. So my dad noticed that it was like four of them. My dad noticed that they were really pretty good. So he was like, "Well, you guys should be playing like little league softball or baseball. So he took my brother down there, and my brother signed my brother up for youth league baseball. So my brother was on this team called the Cardinals, and when they saw him, they was like, "Oh, he is so tiny." And game day comes, there of course there's practices and stuff like that. So the coaches and everybody knew that what his ability was. But when game day comes, it's this crowd, everybody's sitting in the bleachers, it's a spring day. And he goes up to bat, and again we are in the stands, and you hear people saying, "Oh, he's so little, like what is he gonna do?" So he goes up to bat and he hits the ball, and it's not a home run, but it's nearly a home run. And they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh my God." So in my mind, after that day, I always call him Mighty Mouse, because like his physique, he was always short and muscular, and everything he did, like if we would play outside and we were playing some type of game, he would always excel and just go above and beyond. And he did that, even that replicated in life. Is just he never took his height as a deficit. He always, took it and embraced it, and lived his life as though he was the tallest person in the room. And to me, he was a great guy.
Yeah. Yeah. And honest, it's he carries that forward even into his military career, right? It's like nothing's going to stop this guy.
Correct. So yeah, so he enlisted in the army, and he got a lot of medals and stuff, and his commanding officers, they just cared about him so much. Like he even got in trouble once, and what would normally be like an infraction or like an Article 15 or something like that. The commanding officers gave him grace. They were like, "Eric, we don't understand what happened, but we're not going to do this. You just have to do better." So even in that instance, his character, they were like, "Oh, this is totally outside of what we've seen, so we're going to just give you this grace." So
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I understand that the two of you were very close growing up, and you grew up in Columbus, right?
correct.
Georgia.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um, can you share with us just your favorite memory of your time with your brother growing up?
So we would spend a lot of times in Phenix City. That's where my maternal grandmother lived. So our family would just gather there, and we all would just be outside just doing the simplest things, but they were the best times ever. And my brother my grandmother lived in a projects. She lived in a 100 block, so it's like four different blocks of these apartments. So my grandma would say, "Don't go down to the 400 block, it's too far for you." But yet here's my little advantageous brother going down there, and as he's walking with his chest stuck out, and he's smiling and he's waving, and all these people's like, "Eric," like he just was that person. Like he
Yeah.
would have been a great PR person because of his personality. But just seeing how not just the family for him was in our family, but others loved him in a similar manner, and just thinking back on our childhoods in Phoenix City and being spending time with our family is just the greatest.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I understand also from an early age, he started showing that he had a bit of a propensity for working on things technically. Like you guys had
Yes.
an Atari system that apparently he liked to take apart.
Right. So in the 80s, like Atari was one of the first gaming systems that came out. So we just kept begging our parents, "Can we please get one?" And finally they got us one. And it was primarily in my brother's room. So I'm walking into his room, and I look, and I'm like, "I know he didn't take this game apart, but yet he did." I was like, "Mama's gonna kill you." And he was like, with confidence, he was like, "I got it, I got it." And I'm like, shaking my head. I went to my room, and later when my mom got off work and he was in there just playing the game, you can hear like Frogger and Donkey Kong and stuff playing in the background. So I'm like, wait, he really did do this and put this game back together. But he was very curious about how it worked. So
Yeah. No, honestly, I used to work in technology before I got into this for 15 years, and I was the
mhm,
same type of kid. I was taking apart my CB radios and anything that was electronic
right,
in my that I could keep in my room or hide the fact that I
right,
broke. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
I don't know if I would have tried it on my Nintendo. Those were a little expensive, but
right,
yeah.
right.
um so getting to September of 2003,
Mhm.
he has been married at this point, but it's been kind of a longer term relationship. Can you tell us about that relationship a little bit?
Yeah, so they met they met in in the neighborhood that I was referencing earlier where my grandmother stayed. And one of my aunts also lived there, and um they met because they we have a cousin in common, and I'm gonna clarify this so that doesn't seem weird, but my cousin on my mom's side, Molly, is cousins with her on her paternal side. So
Okay. Okay.
I know that's confusing. She's cousin with one of my cousins on the paternal side, and we're cousins on the maternal side. So they're not
Okay.
related.
Got it. Got
Yes.
it. And
So
Molly, just in case you've heard about this case or you're going to follow up on other media about this case, Molly's name is actually Tara Jones, but she's known as Molly. So we're going to refer to her as Molly
mhm,
from here on out. So, okay, go ahead.
yes. Yeah. So Molly lived in a same block as my aunt. So because we had a cousin in common, kind of, they we all just hung out together, and then I guess they started liking each other, whatever, and had a high school romance. And he went on with his life at some point, and she went on with her life. They both married other people and had children. And at some point in life, they got back together and decided that we're gonna finally make this work. You know, they would see each other off and on throughout the years if they weren't in a relationship, but they decided to be together. They lived together for years. They finally got married in 2003, I think in April or March, and they purchased a home around the same time. So they were trying to build their life together. She had two kids from another marriage, and they did a lot of fun things together. Like they would travel together. They raised their kids as though my brother was the father. Um, for her daughter, like my her daughter's known my brother since she was a baby, so she thought of him as a dad
Yeah.
pretty much from day one. And same thing for her son, because he was maybe 4 at the time of my brother's death, so all he knew was my brother as his dad. So my brother always loved them as though they were his kids, and he would often refer and say those should have been my kids,
Yeah.
had they stayed together. But yeah.
So Molly brings in a little boy and a little girl, and your brother
Mhm.
brings in Antonio. How old's
Correct.
Antonio in 2003?
Oh god. Maybe 7-ish,
Okay.
9, 7
Okay.
to 9 or something like that.
Okay. And I know we kind of sped through this a little bit, but I'm seeing some different reporting in terms of how many siblings your brother has. Like one article said 8. I know you've told me a different number. Can you straighten that out for everyone?
Sure. So my mom has 2 kids, myself and my brother. I'm the oldest, he's the youngest. However, my mom husband had kids prior from a prior marriage. So they are considered my step siblings. And then my brother's biological fathers has multiple kids as well. So I guess collectively you can say it's 15. I've never counted because it never mattered, but
Yeah.
to me, that is my brother.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay.
Mhm.
So back to September 2003. He's working at Kodak Polychrome. Is I know he went to DeVry for a while. Is he working in IT? Is he doing technical things at Kodak or?
No, so he went to DeVry for a while because he had this curiosity about electronics and things of such like that. Computer technology, I think, was his major.
Yeah.
But that school wasn't very affordable for us at that time, so he opted to go into the army. Fast forward, no, he wasn't working in IT. He was mainly doing what did you call it, line assembly kind of work.
Yeah.
And he worked at other jobs, but they were doing the same thing, like assembly type thing. He ended up at Kodak Polychrome. I'm not sure what his job was then, I just don't recall, but he wasn't in IT.
Okay. But and is that his only job at the time that this
Yes.
happens? Okay. Okay. I'm just trying to figure out like what are the other pockets of, social interaction or other people that might
Mhm.
become, part of the story when we're talking about his murder. Um,
Absolutely.
so he's recently married. He's moved into the new home. Sounds like he's got a lot to take on. 3 kids, like just instant family all of a sudden. Did he
Hmm.
have any other major hobbies or other time ways that he would spend his time outside of that?
Yes, so he liked cars. He liked working on cars. He had multiple cars, as a matter of fact. Um, he had a Dodge Ram, which he cherished.
Yeah.
um, but he liked working on cars. He was curious about working on cars as much as he was on electronics. He also played softball, so he would was a part of the softball league. So in his spare time, he would go and play games like that. So those are his main 2 hobbies.
Okay. Okay. So he does have some other social circles that are kind of tapping into his life a little
Hmm.
bit there.
Yes.
When's the last time that you spoke to him, and what was it about?
So the last time I spoke to him, the last time I seen him was Labor Day weekend. Like I made an effort to go to Columbus just to hang out. I didn't have nothing planned here in Atlanta. So last time I saw him was Labor Day of that year. The last time I spoke with him was the Monday or Tuesday before he died.
Wow. Wow. And
Yeah.
it was just kind of checking in on your brother, or was there any particular conversation?
No, he actually called me and he called me to share that there was an issue with Stephanie at work and they were investigating a check fraud scheme.
Okay. Let's roll into that a little bit. Who's Stephanie?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Stephanie is Stephanie is the wife of my brother's lifelong friend. His name is also Eric.
Okay. Okay. So we've got 2 friends named Eric and Stephanie,
Mhm.
and they've well, the 2 Erics have known each other their whole lives, and then at some point,
Correct.
friend Eric marries Stephanie, and
Hmm.
now your brother's talking to you about some issue that she has.
Yeah, because like my brother shared with me that Eric, the friend, recruited him to be a vendor for a company that his wife worked for. So that part I knew. The intricacies I did not know. Like I didn't know the details, but I did know that Eric, the friend, recruited my brother to be a part of this. So
Okay.
I guess when everything was kind of unraveling, he wanted to share that with me. And I was telling him, I was like, make sure you protect yourself, look out for yourself, like put your friendship to the side. Because at this point, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It makes me upset because
Yeah.
my brother was friends with them for so long, and these are not friends that you saw at a distance. They had close relationships. They would go to games together, cookouts, travel. These are close friends. Like they break, as we say, break bread. They would break bread often. So by that I mean a meal, because break bread can mean many things. So I
Yeah.
mean they
Yeah.
would share over a meal. So I want to clarify that. I don't want to say break bread in it. They thinking it means money because it doesn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm rambling, so let me get refocused. So they had a really close relationship. So at this point, I'm telling him to abandon that because based on the conversation we had, him and his wife met with Eric and Stephanie here in Atlanta. And at that time, they're trying to tell him to take the charge as though he could come up with the inside details of how to manipulate the system to even make this happen. So I don't know how they thought logically that this would even fly because
All
he's a
right.
layperson. He doesn't have background in accounts payable or, you know,
Gotcha.
invoices or anything like that. So I don't know why that was even a thought, but
So
they
you get
did
it's a concerning phone call that you have,
very
and
very much
basic
so.
yeah, basically we're talking about this circle of friends, and there seems to be some type of business thing that, quite honestly, if you explain it certain ways, it sounds like he's just getting into some type of business venture with his longtime, lifelong friend. But
Hmm.
the conversation you're having with him is no, 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 no. Things are going sideways. People are talking about
Hmm.
taking charges. So there's
Right.
obviously some criminal investigation that's going in around this. Are you having any inkling of being worried about his safety based off this conversation? Or are you literally just like, protect yourself from the legal stuff?
that was the least of my worries because I knew the lifelong relationship that it just never crossed my mind. Even when they notified me that he had been killed, that never crossed my mind.
Wow.
Um, so no, I'm telling him, get your lawyer, protect yourself. Never was it a thought that they would do harm to him. Like, no way,
Right.
no way.
Right. Hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get into some of the details about what happened that day. It's
Hmm.
Friday morning. He's getting ready to head off to work, and
Hmm.
he doesn't even make it from his front door into his car. Um,
Correct.
do we know if it was one gunshot or was it multiple gunshots?
Multiple gunshot.
It's multiple. I couldn't
Yes, sir.
find any reference to the type of weapon. Do we know that? And is there more than one weapon, or is there only one?
So I don't know. The police have really not shared a lot of information with us. I
Okay.
only know multiple gunshots based on his appearance when we viewed the body before the funeral. And then it was confirmed in an article. And after that, I got a copy of the autopsy report. So I was able to read for
Okay.
myself.
Okay. So you know for a fact that it's multiple gunshots, but we don't know anything about the weapon, and we don't know if there's different weapons in terms of the gunshots that hit his body. Okay.
I would have to go read it because it was really devastating for me to try to read that. Like I got it
Yeah.
and I just kept it in a place, and then to read it, it really made me sad because it was an overkill. Like it was so unnecessary and
Yeah.
um
No, absolutely.
where,
Well, if you
where they
want, if it would be helpful to you, please feel free to
Mhm.
send it to me, and I can do this outside of the episode, just completely offline. If you want me to just,
Okay.
yeah, take a look at it and see what sticks out, and I'll just let you know those types of details, so you can
Okay.
get that information
Okay.
without having to go that way, because I know that would be really tough on you to be reading
Yeah,
about that.
absolutely.
Um, okay, now there was a police report, and that did state that they had a belief that there was multiple suspects.
Mhm.
Do you have any insight into why they thought that?
Um, because there was a witness that
Okay.
it's a young lady that witnessed multiple suspects fleeing the scene.
Okay, so she sees a bunch of people fleeing. Are they in a vehicle or are they on foot?
Initially running because I'm sorry, he lived in a cul-de-sac,
Yeah. Yeah, take a moment.
and his house is in the middle of the cul-de-sac, so you
Right.
can have a good visual feel from the street to his house. So she's seen him running from the house to the end of the corner where the main street is, and then get into a car.
Okay. Okay, so she knows that she sees them running. They go up Builder Drive then, right? That's the street
I don't.
in front of Level Court. Like Level Court's the little offshoot, and then Builder Drive is the big
uh
road that it connects
I
to.
never knew the name of it because he had lived there for such a short time. But if that's yes, that is the main street.
Okay. I was just wondering about that because when I look at the map, that whole
Mhm.
area is super closed off. Like there's only one way in and one way out, which is basically that Builder Drive. Everything else is just cul-de-sacs right there, and there's no other way out. Um,
Yeah, it was a new subdivision, to be honest. Like they had that house built, and so it was so new. I don't know how they planned it, but yeah, it was a
oh,
brand new subdivision, brand new house that they moved
interesting.
into.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
So all these houses that we would see on a satellite view from now might not have even been there at the time then, right?
Right, right.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Well, that's interesting. So we do have a witness. Did she happen to note the vehicle? Did she know any details about it?
She did, and it was reported. It hasn't been confirmed that it was a black vehicle,
Okay.
black four door sedan.
A black four-door sedan. Okay. Yeah, I have not seen
Mhm.
those details anywhere. Okay, so we have this witness that is seeing them fleeing. Likely heard the gunshot, I would assume, or the multiple gunshots.
Yes, she did.
Who who actually finds Eric in the carport? Who's the first person to get to him?
I would say Phenix City Police Department.
Okay.
So the way the story was reported to me was that um based on the story that the wife has shared with our family, is that she heard the gunshots, secured her kids and herself in a room, and then jumped out the window to hide in the woods. At some point, she felt it was safe to come out. Went to knock on a neighbor's door. She called 911, and I guess Phoenix City Police Department approached, and then that's when I guess she came around, and I don't know. I don't know after that. I'm sorry.
Okay, okay, but a couple of interesting details there. So we're hearing that Molly and the children, all three children, are basically in the house when this happens.
Her two kids. My
Oh, her
nephew
two
lived
kids.
lived in Kentucky.
Got it. Got it. So, all right. So her two kids are in the house, but
Mhm.
there's another interesting wrinkle in all this, and that's wasn't their relationship kind of rocky at this point?
Yeah, so a few weeks prior to his death, he called me and he was like, hey, so Molly left with the kids. And I was like, what happened? And he explained it. I really don't want to go into details, but they end up separating. And when the day that he died, when I arrived in Columbus, she was reciting what happened. And I was like, wait, you were back at the house? And she was like, yeah. So I was shocked because the last time I talked to him, other than the conversation about the checks, he said that they weren't together. So I was shocked that she was back at home when
Yeah.
she told us about that. So
But looking at the history of their relationship, I mean, you had seen this before, right? This kind of they're
hmm
off, they're on, and were you surprised
well,
before?
they were, but before they were off and on, but the 3 years prior to that, they were together and it wasn't a breakup.
Okay,
So yeah.
gotcha, gotcha. Um, is there anything about his relationship to Molly that you think potentially could have something to do with him being killed? Is there anyone from her scope of relationships or someone that would be unhappy about the two of them getting married and moving in and starting this big dream life and all that? Anything like that?
Yeah, so and this is allegedly, but allegedly people stated that her ex-husband, her first husband, was released from prison a few weeks prior to my brother's death. So that has been the number one rumor in our hometown. Um and if they were having marital strife, she has a close-knit family, and if you're saying, oh, this is going on or whatever it is, that could be easily misinterpreted where somebody feels like they need to do harm to him, but I'm hoping that that's not the case. I have hoped and prayed for the past 20 plus years that she is not involved, that
Yeah.
no one in her camp is involved. um so I give her the benefit of doubt because I witnessed the love that they had for each other. And
Hmm.
I just hope that there's no truth to that.
Is her ex-husband, was he in jail for violent offenses?
Yes.
Interesting. Homicide
Mhm.
ever?
Yes. Yes.
Wow. Wow. Well, I could see why that's going to be the most common rumor that you hear about. I mean, just with those conditions, if
Mhm.
people in the neighborhood know him for his previous
Mhm.
offenses, and all of a sudden now your brother's been shot, like I don't think
Right.
it's a hard line to draw. But um,
Yeah.
hmm, hmm. So I've seen comments from your mother saying that she
hmm
thought it was a hired hit. Do you
hmm
know why she thinks that? Is that tied to, we've kind of talked about two potential theories here, this kind of weird business thing going on with the friends and now
Yeah.
potentially relationship issues. Do you know if she's
Right.
trying to line it up with one of those, or is this a completely different theory?
No, she's trying to line it up with the embezzlement scheme with the friends.
Okay. Okay. So she thinks that it was a hired hit based on this business stuff that was going out. And,
Mhm.
kind of looking at that, I mean, that phrasing is, embezzlement scheme, makes me think that, law enforcement, as they're processing something like that, they're going to look to probably flip someone, especially if they know that there's two or three people that are working together They're going
Mhm.
to likely go to the person that is the lowest person on the totem pole and try to make a deal
Mhm.
with them for reduced charges or something like that if they give
Right.
them the information to get the bigger fish. Um,
Right.
so, I have been told previously that murder is problem solving for someone. It solves some issue for
Mhm.
them. So, definitely in those conditions, it sounds like there could be a possibility. Like if they were worried that law enforcement was going to approach your brother and say, "Hey, you're going to jail unless you help us with this, and if you help us with this, then
Mhm.
you'll be on parole or something." Um,
Right.
that's interesting.
So
Did
there's just to elaborate on it just a little bit.
Yeah.
In addition to that, my mother has a belief that this check thing goes deeper than just my brother being involved in it, but we don't have any way to prove that because um the case has been settled. Like they've done their time and been sentenced and are out living their life. But people continue to tell my mother different things in regards to the situation. They'll say that there were other people involved that had more to lose. So that's why my mom keep, saying that it's a hired hit because there are people with criminal backgrounds that is associated with the two people that are the friends that are the masterminds for this. So,
So I think I'm going to explain this in a real simple way, and let me know if this is too simple or if there's additional. But from what I'm getting about this embezzlement scheme, is basically uh, she is working at a company and she creates like a fake vendor, and she's working in accounts payable, and she
mhm.
decides that, okay, we're going to create this fake vendor. It's going to be our buddy Eric, and
Mhm.
we're going to send him checks paying him for something. In the books she's
Mhm.
saying it's a legit business expense. um,
Correct.
and Eric takes the checks, cashes them, gets to keep a portion, and then the
Mhm.
majority of it would go back to his friend Eric
Mhm.
and Stephanie. Does that sound fair?
Correct.
Okay.
That is very accurate. Mhm.
Okay. Um, so it's weird because, as I've been prepping for this conversation, I've been getting these windows into different time periods of the
Mhm.
investigation. And at one point, it sounded like the prosecution of that crime was actually stalling your brother's murder investigation because that crime was still being investigated at a federal level. And basically, law enforcement was saying, we can't proceed with your brother's murder investigation right now because this is bigger than that.
Yes, so that's what was told to us at the time of the investigation. Because I was like, why aren't you guys like investigating? It's like, go hard. Now is the time. And we were told that at the time the federal case took precedent over a state case. But later I heard that that's not true, that the murder case
Yeah.
should have
That's,
been investigated simultaneously. So it's one of many that I feel is a missed opportunity.
yeah. Yeah. So how does it shake out? What happens with the embezzlement scheme? Like they try to run charges against them, and then do they come to a plea agreement of some kind, or?
Mhm. Yeah, so they both were charged in federal court. They were both sentenced to, I forgot the exact number of years, but they were sentenced, went to federal prison, served their time, came out, got jobs as though nothing happened, and one of them in their same field that has to do with finances. So that I was baffled by that.
Wow, that's unbelievable.
Hmm.
Now Eric, you have pretty much known your whole life too, friend Eric.
Yes. Hmm.
Have you ever spoken to him about this stuff?
I did. So we don't call the second Eric the friend Eric. We call him Didi,
Okay.
which is what we call him in our neighborhood and at school.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna call him Didi moving forward.
Okay.
So yes, I did talk to Didi on the time when I arrived at my mom's house and driving from Atlanta, and I arrive and these all these cars on the street. I'm like, what's going on? While I'm on the way there, I'm calling my brother. I'm like, they're calling me. They didn't tell me why I need to come home. They would just come home, come home now. Nobody told me. Oh God.
Take a moment. It's fine. I know this stuff's tough.
It is. Okay. So I get to my mom's house. There's these cars on the street, and as I pull my car into the driveway, everybody's just looking at me, and I'm like, "Why is everybody looking at me?" Um, so I get inside, and my mom and my aunt they immediately embrace me, and they take me in the room, and they tell me that my brother had been killed. So I'm devastated. But once I gather myself together and make sure my kids are all right, I go outside, and Dee Dee is standing there in my mom's front yard. Immediately, I go to him and I confront him and I say, "Do you and Stephanie have anything to do with my brother's murder?"
Oh, wow.
He never denied it. Like if somebody asked me, "Kathy, did you do X, Y, and Z?" And I know with everything in me that I didn't do it, I would immediately say, "No, I had nothing to do with that," and I would stand on that. At no point did he do that. He said, "Hey, don't say that. You're gonna get Stephanie in trouble." And in my mind, I'm like, I just talked to my brother. You're already in trouble. So what are you talking about? So anyway, me and him exchanged words. I asked him to leave. He did. And yeah.
Outside of all that,
Mhm.
your mother actually wound up at the scene somehow. How did that happen?
So one of my aunts that's now on the scene calls my mom and job and say, "Hey, we need to talk to Annie." My mom goes into her supervisor's office. My aunt says Eric has been shot. My mom is thinking that he's injured and that she
Yeah.
needs to get to the hospital or to make sure everything okay. And they were like, "No, come to his house." So my mom gets to the house. According to her, there's a crowd of people there, and his body is laying in his driveway, lifeless.
Yeah, and I saw an interview with her talking about that. And just for a moment, put yourself in her shoes. Not only are you seeing your child and you know that they're gone, you can't go to
Right,
them. You can't run up,
right.
hug them. You know, the grief process is literally paused because
Mm-hmm.
now there's law enforcement stopping you and there's an active
Correct.
investigation that's kicking on and you just have to stand there and watch. I mean, that is
Yes.
so tough. Um,
It really is, and that's the most memorable part of her grieving process is seeing him lying there. The police, of course, have it taped off, or they're physically restraining him for proceeding to touch him. And I get that they have to preserve the evidence, but as a mother, you're not processing that. You're
yeah,
processing that my child is laying there. You're not even processing that they're deceased. You're processing that that's your child, and you want to comfort them.
right, right.
So um she still struggles with that, and I was one of the last people to know because I had my phone wasn't in service on that date.
Yeah,
But I'm thankful for that, and it may sound crazy, but I'm thankful that I wasn't as close to be able to witness that because I don't think I could live with that, like
yeah,
seeing that and knowing how much he didn't deserve to die in that manner or at all.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
and my
So,
mom has felt type of way about, let me just say this part because this is the
yeah,
devastating part for my mom. But she has never felt acknowledged as a mother. Even on the scene, they never said, "Miss Whittlesey, I'm sorry," or "We're gonna contact you," or "We'll be in touch," or nothing that comforted her at all.
yeah,
So she still has this anger with them, and rightfully so, because it wasn't handled properly from the beginning.
yeah, absolutely. I'm surprised by that. I have seen body cam footage of law enforcement interacting with family of victims, and
Mhm.
it really boggles my mind. In a way, I feel for law enforcement because you can tell like they are like, oh my God, this is a terrible situation, and I don't know what to say to this person in the right way,
Mhm.
and they just act like, well, then I just can't say anything. You know, like it's
Yeah.
this weird place. And it just blows my mind that there isn't some level of training that is done
Right.
regularly for like, hey, you know, if you have a family member show up and you're processing a crime scene like this, here's what you
Mhm.
say.
Right.
It's that simple. Like, oh,
Yeah.
there will be an investigator that's coming on scene. I'll get you in touch with him as soon as he shows up.
Right.
Just
Right.
something. And by the way, yeah, I'm sorry. I can't imagine what you're going through. Like, how hard is that statement?
Absolutely.
But I get
Right.
it. I just, I've seen it, and I can feel the tension that they're dealing with in terms of like, oh my God, this is something I'm not trained for. Like, it's very obvious. Um,
Yeah.
so going back to the scene, I understand
Hmm.
that there was some fingerprints that were found and analyzed. What
Hmm.
happened with those?
Um, so my mom and I met with Phenix City Police, and the officer shared that there were fingerprints that were tested, and it came back that it were the police officers that was on the scene. So again, one of many missteps in the investigation. Um, but the irony is that when I got approved for the billboard for Season of Justice,
Mm-hmm.
Season of Justice will also test DNA. So I reached out and say, hey, do you guys have anything that you're holding that you need funding for testing?
Yeah.
I was told there is no DNA to be tested. So I don't know if fingerprints is considered DNA, but at that time it was like a red flag with me when we later had this conversation, and he's divulging that there were the officer's fingerprints. So I don't know.
Yeah, based on what I've seen about this case, and I'm looking at it through the lens of media, so it's you would probably know more than me at this point. But I do understand that there's bullet casings that were found on the scene
Hmm.
as well, and there is a newer kind of technology when it comes to bullet casings that they
Hmm.
can be tested for DNA, and apparently
Okay.
their surface area is kind of manufactured in a way where DNA sticks to it pretty good. Now the
Okay.
problem there is, and I don't know about the fingerprints. Maybe you do. Did the fingerprints come off the bullet casings?
I think it came off his vehicle,
Okay. Okay.
or, but
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure. That's an assumption. So I want to be clear about that.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, I think there's one particular lab that's doing this type of work with analyzing bullet casings at this point, and there's so much law enforcement that is just unaware of it. I've talked to
Hmm.
family members. I know Robin.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Same situation. Like, and she's very aware of like,
Hmm.
hey, they can test for DNA on this stuff now. And
Hmm. Yeah,
her
she
detective,
did discuss that with me.
yeah, and her detective's like, no, what are you talking about? You can't test for DNA. It's like, yeah, you can actually look it up. You can if there's casings. Now, her situation's a
Hmm.
little different because I think she's talking about an
Okay.
actual bullet. But um,
Right.
is there anything else in terms of physical evidence that's helpful to this case? We know that there was no
Not that we've
robbery. There was nothing taken.
no. No, he had cash on him. So that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
Um, again, I'm gonna refer back that we know very little information, and that laughter that I just had before I started speaking, it's my defense mechanism because I don't want to come across as super frustrated, but that's my sigh.
Yeah.
Like, so they've shared very little with us. I've been pushing for the AG office cold case unit for the state of Alabama to take over the case. And in the process of that, one of the investigators did come to visit, and spoke with Captain Lassiter, who is the assigned to my brother's case. At that time, they did a case review, and they supposedly dotted their I's and crossed their T's. And I don't know what that encompasses. It was never discussed with us. So I don't know where if there's additional evidence that was tested or not.
Okay, so you answered a couple questions I had here. So there is a
Okay.
current investigator because I saw it back in 2023. You were asking for basically like, hey, can we get a new investigator on this and just get this thing looked at? So there is an investigator now, Lassiter, that's on this case.
So with Phoenix City Police Department, after the original detectives either retired, one died, and or the other one moved on to another department or something. Um, After that, the case has always been assigned to the captain of the police department. Why
Yeah.
I don't know, but that's been their norm. So it's not a necessarily new investigator. It's because for a while I didn't even think about the case because it was overwhelming for me. So I don't know
Yeah.
who was the in between. But I have spoken to three different captains during the 20 plus years. So I don't know when he took over the case, to be honest. But
Okay.
it's always been
Okay.
assigned to a captain.
So I know you've got the change.org petition asking for the AG to effectively reinvestigate this. I just wanted to
Yes.
tell you that's kind of a mechanism I've seen in the past few years become a lot more popular for families to reach for. And we've seen some good results in terms of investigations actually getting moved to that.
Hmm.
Um, so that hasn't happened here yet, right? They came and took a look, but they just did like a review of the case file.
Because of that review, that made my brother's case active again.
Mm,
So
okay.
I'm confused about all these terms because some people's like, no, if it's cold, it's cold. If it's active, it's active. If it's active because they reviewed the case, what made it active? Did something happen that you're not disclosing? If that's the case, say that so that
Right.
we don't have to make these assumptions or have these negative feelings towards them. But that's where we are to this day.
So, and that, I mean, that was a couple years ago at this point that you kind of had that last contact with AG's office, right?
Mhm.
So, this new change.org petition, this is to get it officially handed off to the AG's office.
Yes, but I don't feel as though that's going to happen. Simply because I attended a National Victims Week Rights Week. I'm sorry,
Mm-hmm.
National Crime Victims Rights Week in Montgomery, Alabama. And at that rally, it was some of the people that work for the AG's office, and they gave me their contact information. And then someone from the AG's office did reach out to me, and he did give me more detail that the case was reviewed, um, and essentially saying that they have confidence in Phenix City Police Department and they will not be taking on my brother's case. So
Mm.
while the petition is still out there and active, um, I don't know if it will evolve into something else. But for now,
Yeah.
that is the goal.
Yeah, I don't think you give up on it, right? Because each one of those
No,
signatures is still a message to
it
them
matters.
about, yeah,
Hmm.
about what your family is looking for, what you guys need, and how many of us are
Hmm.
standing behind you at this time. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, so we'll have a link to that in the description box down below. So if you guys, if you've watched all of this up to this point, please just give us another 2 minutes, click that link, and become one of the voices signing that petition. Um,
Thank you.
so I understand that. I mean, I can only imagine what it's like to go through something like this. I haven't experienced a loss like you have in this way, but I understand that it challenged your faith in God and it really
Absolutely.
pulled you away from the church.
It
Um,
did.
it breaks my heart to know that that happened because in
Mhm.
a time when you needed others to rely on, you pulled away from one of the best places, one of the best sources for others to be there for you. How how
Right.
dark did your days get around all that? What were you going through?
Very dark. Um, so my family is a church going family. We believe wholeheartedly in God. I was raised going to church, vacation Bible school, all that stuff, Sunday school. Um, but I question God when a person as good as my brother, a person that did harm to no one, a person that was not did not have a mean bone in his body. Like how could that happen to someone so amazing? Granted, he committed a crime, but that at no point did it merit that someone take his life,
Yeah.
or that doesn't negate all the good that he's done in his life. And I emphasize that because that's just one moment in time in his 32 years that he lived. So I just didn't understand why. And I reached out to my own church for counseling because I had a birthday that like 3 months after my brother died. And in my mind, I'm contemplating, why do I get to have another birthday when he doesn't?
Mm.
So I reached out to my mom and my aunt, And they was like, call your church. You need somebody to help you and pray for you. So I reached out to my church. I spoke to one of the associate pastors and we arranged a meeting for me to come and speak to the pastor during Bible study. And that wasn't handled very well. They handled me like, oh, what are you talking about? So I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
no,
just
that's
gonna
unbelievable. What was the disconnect there?
so these are associate pastors speaking for the pastor. So I don't think it was communicated to the pastor about the
Yeah.
senior pastor of our church. But that's how they presented it to me, my mom, and my aunt. Because they came to join me that day just to be by my side and make sure I was okay.
Yeah. You're already dealing with an amazing amount of heartbreak. And you're
Right.
literally following the advice that I thought, like, oh wait, like you've got church, like you've got this big community and people
Right.
to ask for help from, but you did that
Yes, I
and
did.
you're being
I
let
did.
down.
Yeah. So after that experience, I was just done. It's like my brother is murdered. That is, I didn't deserve that. And then these people who are people of God, and this is your mission, mishandled me. So
Yeah.
I was at a very dark place just having that thought during that time.
Yeah.
But I had to get myself together because I had two kids to live for, and I had a nephew that I wanted to take responsibility for because he was young and that's what my brother would have wanted me to do. So that's what I did.
Pulled yourself up, got things back on track, focused on what was important. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
It's amazing. At some point, do you
Mhm.
find your own connection to God, or did you find a new church, or did you go back? What happened?
I did. So one of my one of my lifelong friends we that lived on the same street, um, she knew I was going through something. She lived nearby and she was like, hey, you want to go to church with me? And I was like, sure. So I went to this church, me and my children, and I felt like I was at home. I felt like the pastor was speaking through me somehow. My spirit was fed, which is what I was used to. So then, I didn't want to make a rash decision. I sat in the pews for months to make sure I was making a sound decision, and I end up joining that church, and that was my church until I relocated to another state. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Excellent. Excellent. Well, I'm glad you found your way back and you found your way through that time because I can imagine. I mean,
absolutely.
you must have
Yeah,
felt like you were alone in the world
I
at that
did.
point. Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh. But what a blessing to have the children and have your nephew to think about and for them to give
Yes.
you kind of a North Star to kind of move to
Hmm.
and keep moving through
Yes.
that. Speaking of your nephew,
Hmm.
I understand that he seems like he's following in his father's footsteps. Is that right?
Yes. So I'm so proud of him. Um, he's a sergeant in the Navy. He just had his NCO induction a few months ago, and just witnessing that was so amazing. And he walks just like my brother. And sometimes I'll look at him and I have to catch myself because I'll say, "You look just like your dad." And for him, he's heard that so often, but it also makes him sad.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to do interviews. He doesn't want to talk about it. He doesn't want to live in it, or you know what I'm saying? Like he doesn't want to be involved in it becomes real for him. And I get it.
Yeah.
So he's totally hands off. But yeah, I am so proud of him.
Yeah,
I continue to be
definitely.
proud of him.
And that's the special thing about the work that you're doing in terms of spreading the word. And you're doing such good work with the awareness. Like, yeah,
Thank you.
a lot of your favorite true crimers are talking about this case now, and it's because of the work
Awesome.
that Kathy is
Awesome.
doing. And Annie, but it seems like Annie's kind of stepped away from speaking at this point.
Yeah, so with my mom it's touch and go because if if she still is dealing with the trauma of seeing her son in the driveway.
Yeah.
She's angry about how the police has handled it. And then when she does open up about it, even when she attended advocacy con, she literally had to just unplug for weeks because you can go on with your life and it comes up, but you don't sit in it. And when you do podcasts and when you do interviews and conferences and support groups, you have to sit in it. You have to
Yes.
own that feeling. You have to, that trauma becomes so real, and it's such a strong feeling. So for that reason, I try to protect her from it. I'll say, hey, I'm doing this, would you like to sit in on it? Sometimes she says yes, sometimes she says no. When she
Yeah.
says yes, then I'm happy to invite her, but it's not that she doesn't want to, it's a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
So
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But I just want to remind everyone, I think sometimes people watch or they listen to things like this and they're like, oh, it's just two people talking. And yeah, no, it's not easy for Kathy to be going down this emotional roller coaster over and over and over and
right.
dealing with a lot of very, very strong feelings. And she's got children she's got to take care of. She's got a life outside of all this that needs to go on
Mhm.
while she's working for finding justice for her brother. It could be a lot to take
Correct.
on. So, um, the amount of work and effort that you're doing is definitely not lost on me. And I just want to tell you, you're doing things right because I'm seeing this case everywhere. And that's great.
Thank
That's
you.
great.
I appreciate that. I
Speaking
have a great
of
support group.
good, yes, you need that. You need that. It's a team,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's been great to see the reward increasing over the years. Crime Stoppers initially offered up $5,000. The government's or the governor's office added 5,000 to that, and then recently Higher
Yes.
Hope Foundation added another five, so the reward is now up to 15,000. You mentioned earlier Season of Justice. They helped with a billboard push that was done last year and this year. Is that right?
Yes, and there was a huge moment for me because you're on social media and you're in these groups for other families that's of missing and murdered. So you see them have little victories and you were
Yeah.
like, well, why not my brother's case, right? So finally our moment came, they installed a billboard and I'm like, yes, finally. And I was so happy. I know it sounds ironic because it's a murder case, but I was so happy. I'm like, finally, we're getting somewhere. And I strategically picked that location because it's adjacent to my brother's house, which is close to which is the murder scene.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be a reminder because it's a main street in Phenix City. I wanted to be a reminder that this case is still unsolved. If anybody had information out there, if you see this billboard, please feel compelled to come forward and just share whatever it is. Like, even if it's something you've heard and you think it's nothing, like call, let them investigate it because you never know. It takes the smallest little tip to solve the case. So that was my hope. And it's still my hope because that billboard is still up.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
might be
That's
shooting
amazing.
myself in the foot. It was only supposed to be up for 2 months, but it's been up a year and a month now.
That's amazing.
So yeah.
Yes, if you guys have any information or tips, you can call them in anonymously through Central Alabama CrimeStoppers. They have a 24-hour tip line at 334 215 STOP. That's 334 215 7867. Or you can also contact the Phenix City Police Department directly at 334 448 2800. Before we end here today, I just wanted to ask, in those moments where you miss Eric the most,
Mhm.
how do you connect to him? Where do you is there some ritual you have, some way that you keep him alive in your heart? Is there a particular memory or place you go? How do you get through those moments?
Um, I rely on God to shield me and to give me a certain level of peace. But peace is fleeting because I'm still fighting for justice, right? I also listen to music because music calms me, and my brother loved music and he loved dancing. So music kind of is my place where I go, where I can still recall our moments where we dance, our family enjoyed time being together, just listening to good music. So um, yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for spending this time with us, Kathy. I really, really appreciate you being here. And I don't know, I just figured it out at this point, but there's been something very interesting about the imagery of you on this Zoom call.
Mhm.
It kind of looks like you have angel wings. I don't know why, and I got that feeling about you. I wish I was there right now so I can give you a big hug. But
Thank you.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
actually a structure behind me that's blurred.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. It looked
But
like wings to
I'll
me.
take your reference. So yes, I love that.
All right. Well, Kathy, thank you so much for joining us here today. Or is there anyone else that you wanted to thank before we end? I know you've had help from so many people.
Yes. So I want to thank Haley Gray. She's been very instrumental in coming up with creative ideas to, raise awareness from my brother's case. I want to thank the people at Advocacy Con, Eric, Whitney, Melissa. Oh my goodness.
Hmm.
They have been my saving grace in so many areas. Like coming to Advocacy Con was a pivotal moment for me. I've for so long I felt like I was doing this by myself, and that's where I've gained this support system that's just simply amazing. So I'm forever thankful to them for that. So Season of Justice,
Yeah. Yeah.
Sydney Patcha, hope I'm
Hmm.
pronouncing that correctly. She's been amazing. She's been like, I'm gonna call her, I call her and Shayna from like the way my day ones, because I started off on social media on Twitter and they
Yeah.
were like one of my first followers. So I called them my day ones and I gave them such a big hug when I seen them at AdvocacyCon, because you can talk to people through social media, but when you see them in person, it was just this level of gratitude that I will forever have for these people that I just named. And also thank you for taking the time to reach out and to assist us with raising awareness for my brother's case.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I look forward to the time that we get to meet because I definitely owe you a hug after this one. So Uh, thank you for being here. Very big thank you to Kathy for joining us here today and sharing so much insight. I know I have a completely different level of understanding at this point than I did to start this video off. And I really appreciate how open and honest she's being with us about all this. Some of that stuff, you know, for some people, it isn't exactly an ideal situation. For some people, maybe they don't want to care about this case with some of those types of details. I know that this audience is a little bit different than that, and I always try to remind us this case is about helping the families. It's about helping the people that are affected by this loss. There's nothing that we can do for Eric in particular, but we can help his family, and that's really the focus of this episode for me in particular. If you want to be one of those members that steps forward to do the next thing, please check out the links down below. We've got the change.org petition, so you can sign this, put your voice to it, and just know that this is a pretty common approach that's happening with cases nowadays, and I'm seeing some get picked up by the Attorney General's office, and that brings a whole new investigation. That could be very, very helpful in certain cases. With this case, it's so weird because there's aspects that I'm hearing from the family that make me think like everyone's got a pretty good idea what's going on here, or at least a few very specific theories. How can we close the hoop on those? How can we find justice, find the truth, and then bring justice if one of those theories is correct? Of course, you can also keep up to date on everything developing with this case with the Justice for Eric Nelams link tree. And they've got all their links there for their socials. Come here, follow them on their socials, but they're also posting all of the information, any new podcasts, any new articles, they're all popping up here. So come here, but be sure to follow the socials. I mean, that's really how you'll keep up to date with the case best. But if you're looking to dig into it more, there's a couple of really good options here, including the podcast Navigating Advocacy. Which I think Melissa does a really good job, and Whitney. Sorry, Whitney. I've been fortunate enough to work with them on some things around Advocacy Con, but they did a really good job getting the salient points about this case out. And I appreciate that. I think you should check them out, Navigating Advocacy. Plus, over at the link tree, there's other media you can jump into. I know Derek also has a episode of Detective Perspective on this. all kinds of different ways that you can learn more about this case and jump in and hopefully be part of the solution that brings justice to this family. I want to give a very big thank you to everyone that supports us on Patreon and PayPal. We can't do it without you guys, especially the way we've always done it here on the main channel, and that's with limited commercials. There's one at the beginning, one at the end. That's it. We don't clutter these presentations up because we want to present the presentation, present the information in a way that we believe is most helpful. And that's not by having you have to check out for 3 minutes of commercial breaks from YouTube. So we can only do that thanks to our amazing supporters. If you'd like to become one of those supporters, please visit lordandarts.com. There you can sign up for Patreon, sign up for PayPal, buy merchandise, or even just buy us a coffee. We really appreciate all of your support as we continue helping these families in these very tough situations. Take care, everyone. Have a great day, and please join us again next week for a brand new episode of Searchlight right here on the Lord and Arts channel.